UTIs are the worst. I've been there. One year, I had 8 UTIs. If you get UTIs, then you understand how awful the cycle can be. I was taking all the precautions, and cranberry products, they just never worked for me. I was desperate for a way to be proactive. It was hard on me and on my husband.
It was tough to see her in pain, and I wanted to help.
I'm Jenna.
And I'm Spencer.
With Spencer's background in biochemistry
and our shared frustration when it came to UTIs, we were inspired to start Eucora.
At Eucora, we make innovative urinary tract supplements and UTI relief products. Our effective urinary tract supplements finally give you a way to be proactive.
Feel like you've tried everything? We get it. We have a money-back guarantee so you can try risk-free. If you're not happy, you'll get a full refund.
We're on a mission to help women get their lives back. Ready to join them?
Get 30% off Eucora when you go to eucora.com/audio. That's UQORA.com/audio.
Welcome to the Dogs Podcast with your hosts, Blake Reneker, Justin Charles, and Josh All.
What's up, Browns fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Dogs Podcast, coming to you live after another miserable experience known as a Browns game. Unfortunately, the season is not over yet, but our podcast still exists, so at least you guys have that to look forward to. Josh and myself in the studio, Justin coming to us virtually as he is, still in the midst of moves and work schedules and all that good stuff, but we have him here coming to us from his man cave. And also I want to give a shout out. We're trying out a new camera switcher / producer tonight, so big shout out to my friend Aiden in the producer booth. Everybody give him some love in the chat. If he starts switching the camera too much, we can call him out. We appreciate you guys being here despite the Browns just not putting a product worth watching on the field. Hopefully we can one up them and put a product worth watching on the internet for you guys. We got a...
I like that.
Yeah,
I like that.
I want to say we have a fun episode lined up for you guys. It'll at least be therapeutic. I don't know how fun it'll be to revisit all of our trauma, but we're going to try our best to get through it. Before we dive into everything, though, remember, if you want to get your thoughts and your intros and your voicemails on the show, head to thedogspodcast.com, tap leave voicemail. If you're watching on YouTube, please like, and here's the key, subscribe. Subscribing helps us a lot, and it seems like everybody's forgotten that in the last month or so. I'm just giving you guys a hard time. But no, seriously, if you subscribe, tap the notification bell. You don't want to miss any of the content we're putting out, especially as we transition from miserable off-season to hopefully fun, or miserable season to hopefully fun off-season, talking draft and, prospects and free agencies, the kind of things that Browns fans that we typically do, and get excited for. We're not normally excited for seasons, and we're finding out this year there's a reason why we don't get excited for seasons, because it just leads to sadness and despair. So again, you don't want to miss any of the content we're putting out. So make sure the notification bell's tapped. Make sure you guys are subscribed. If you prefer to just listen to episodes, you can find us on Apple, Spotify, and Google. You can also find us on all those major social media platforms. Just search at the Dogs Podcast. Lastly, if you're looking for more dogs content, head to jointhedogs.com, become an official Dog Pack member on the Patreon page. You get access to the private Discord. You get an extra episode every week. You get to play fantasy. Did I say you get to play fantasy football with us? You get to play fantasy football with us. If I said that twice, it's not a glitch in the Matrix.
I wasn't listening.
And you just get to meet Browns fans from all over the world. And I want to revamp the Dog Pack. So now's the time to get into it, because I'm brainstorming ways to really kind of take it to the next level as people join into the off season, heading into next year to fill up the fantasy leagues again. So if you have ideas that you think would be cool for, if you're already in the Dog Pack and you have ideas, obviously let us know, because you're the guys that we want to hear from. You're in it already. But if you've been thinking about joining and you want to know what's offered, or you have questions, or you have ideas for what could be offered to make it worth it, we want to make it as cool for you guys as possible. So just let us know in the comments, send us a voicemail or email or whatever you want to do, and we'll consider pretty much anything. We want to revamp it, make it as good as it can be for the guys who are joining and the gals. We accept everybody here at the Dog Pack. So again, that's jointhedogs.com. If you want to become an official Dog Pack member, support the show, and just meet a bunch of cool Browns fans from all over the world.
Yeah, I will say real quick, and I'm not going to talk in depth about the idea, but I do have an idea about the how to revamp the Dog Pack a little bit, a perk for everybody if they want to get in there. Haven't fleshed out, I talked to you guys about it, but I haven't fleshed out all the details on how that's going to work yet. But information coming in the next couple months. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. So look at that. Great minds already think alike. So obviously yesterday, tough watch for the Browns. They lose 21-7 to the Chiefs. I feel like the game went almost as predicted by us on the preview episode. We said it was going to be grinded out, sloppy game. We said this isn't a high-flying Chiefs offense as it has been in the past. The defense could come out and play well. It would give us a chance to win. I guess I would imagine, I didn't bet on this game, but I would have bet 1+ Jameis pick. I guess I could have bet 2+, and I could have bet 5+ turnovers for the Browns, and I would have hit on all of these. That's not a recipe for success.
No, it's not.
And I believe the Chiefs came into this game -4 in turnover margin for the season, and now I believe they are +1 or 2. I'm no mathematician, but +2 now, I believe, in one game, a swing of 6. So not good for the Browns. Justin, you weren't there because you decided to save yourself the agony, but thoughts on the garbage that was put out there?
I mean, it's disappointing, but look at where we're at. We're 3-11, and I don't think anybody's like super, super surprised at the result. Like, did we come in optimistic that sure, like they can give them a run? And I kind of, in a way, we did give them a run. But like you said, when a team comes in with 10 turnovers, or I guess 10 takeaways on the year, and then you give them 6 in your building, and your offense is just, I don't know, the offense just super, just back to the same, just crap concepts, and just there are bright spots, and we'll talk about that. But man, the offense was terrible. At least you come away with more questions than you have answers heading into the offseason. At this point, I don't know what direction we're heading. And I don't think Browns fans really do.
No, it was the offense. It almost seems like Jameis became the starter. I don't want to say caught the league by storm, but because it's not like we rattled off 5 wins and he was playing, out of his mind, but he was throwing for a lot of yards. Yeah. But it's like, now there's tape on what the Browns are going to do with him. And now you're playing good defenses, and that just gets shut down. It's almost like when you get you bring a new guy in, or a rookie gets his first, 6-7 starts, and there's no film on him. He's like, and all of a sudden you're like, why is he playing so poorly? Well, there's tape on him now. Obviously there's been tape on Jameis, but there was no tape on Jameis in the Browns system. And now, like, there's no surprising you anymore. And people are finding that if he'll make the bad play.
Well, I mean, honestly, we were kind of getting lucky from the start. That Ravens game, he had 3-4 passes that were in that game. We should have lost that game. Remember, because Kyle Hamilton had the pick in his hands. I mean, Jameis threw it right to him, and he just dropped it. So really, Jameis has been doing this from the beginning. They just haven't all been caught. I mean, he had 2, 3, 4 other throws yesterday that should have been picked. They were right in Chiefs, defenders' hands. They dropped them, and it easily could have been an 8, 9, 10 turnover day for the Browns instead of just 6, which is,
could you imagine,
ungodly.
It's bad. 6 is bad.
6 is horrible. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Could you imagine 10?
Oh my. I can kind of imagine it because we almost did it. We were pretty close.
I will say this, a bright spot for the Browns is they improved their third down efficiency yesterday. They went 4 of 12, which is 30%, which is a slight tick up from their 28.3% on the season.
Wow, I wouldn't have guessed they got 4 yesterday.
So, it's pretty incredible. That speaks volumes to how bad the offense has been as a whole this year, when you can go 4 of 12 in a game on third down and you increased your third down percentage for the season. And when you went 30% on third down, Chiefs went 7 of 18. If you're going to talk bright spots for the game, at least without talking specific players, I thought the defense played
great.
The defense played great again. And if the offense would just quit putting them in bad situations, who knows what would happen. I know I said last week that if the defense is going to talk like they're the elite unit and we need to lean on them because we're playing with a backup quarterback, Jameis is a backup quarterback, that I want to see them be able to handle the sudden change. And it doesn't matter. Like, even if we put you in bad spots, we're going to go out there and answer the call, and we're going to hold them to field goals or force turnovers ourselves and that kind of thing. But also at the same time, you can't just keep doing it over and over and over again. Like, at some point, the well's going to dry up. At some point, the dam's going to break. You can't just keep putting your defense in awful situation after awful situation. I think they're just always going to bail you out.
No, I mean, the Chiefs scored all 3 of their touchdowns on turnovers. So it was the punt fumble, which was a great way to open the game for the Browns again. And then it was the Nick Chubb fumble, and it was the turnover on downs. I think I had those out of order, but we just cannot sustain these drives. And the way we open the second half, you want to talk about putting your defense in a tough spot. We come out, first play that we have the ball, let's see, how did that go? We throw the interception off of Nick Chubb's hands into the defender. So it wasn't really Jameis's fault per se. And so they get the ball. And then as soon as we get the defense forces them to punt, we get the ball right back. The very next play, Nick Chubb fumble. And it's like we ran 2 plays and that was it. And the Chiefs had those 2 drives. And it's like, I really feel bad for our defense in those situations because they were playing outstanding. They were forcing 3 and outs. They were doing what teams have done to the Chiefs all year and just making it difficult for them. They struggle moving the ball. And even the running backs like Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco have been pretty dominant on the ground for the Chiefs. And I thought we bottled them up pretty well overall. And we still got our butts kicked. You
held Patrick Mahomes to a 50% completion percentage.
Yes.
And under 160 yards passing.
Yeah.
Kareem Hunt was their leading rusher, 13 carries for 45 yards. And their leading receiver was Xavier Worthy with 6 catches for 46 yards. And you lost by 2 scores.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The fact that you can only muster 7 points, this offense is so bad. So it's reached a point where I don't even get mad. I quit getting mad at this team 6 weeks ago. It's gotten to the point where it's comedy.
Yeah.
How bad we are. Just a little bit of insight into the Browns offense right here. I saw this today. Cleveland is last in EPA per play on offense. With Watson, we were 1-6. With Winston, we're 2-5. We averaged 13.4 points per game with Watson. We averaged 18.6 points per game with Winston. So it's not like the switch from Watson to Winston has been, we're throwing for more yards, but it's not necessarily leading to a boatload more points. We're averaging less than a touchdown more per game with Winston. We had 253 yards a game with Watson, 365 yards a game with Winston, 11 touchdowns with Watson, 16 with Winston, 8 turnovers with Watson, freaking 19 turnovers with Winston. But here's where your EPA per play with Watson was negative 0.22, which is awful, which I'll tell you how awful it is here in a second. And with Winston, it's still negative. It's negative 0.12, and that ranks us 32nd. With both quarterbacks, we're 32nd in the league in EPA. The Browns,
that would be last for everyone out there.
There's only 32 teams in the NFL, if anybody's wondering. They never added. If they add a 33rd, we'll be ranked 33rd.
Yeah, we won't be last anymore.
No, we will. We will be. The Browns' EPA per play with Watson was 786th out of 798 teams since 2000. Okay. The EPA with Winston ranks 690th out of 798 teams. So about 90 spots better than Watson, still ass.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Yep.
So that's where we're at with this offense. And if anybody's keeping track, this is a very highly paid offense. It's not like we're rolling out the 2016, 2015 Browns with Deshaun Kaiser and Isaiah Crowell,
Corey
Coleman,
yeah.
And I don't know. I might be
Massaquoi. Either way, these are all teams that we had.
Yes, we're not rolling these guys out. This is one of the highest paid rosters on the offense on both sides of the ball, but on offense, the offensive line's like one of the highest paid lines.
Yeah, and we're looking to make Teller even higher paid.
And so the offensive struggles are perplexing, to say the least.
So
weird.
We said we gave Deshaun a lot of crap in the first, whenever he was playing, because he had 2 games under a 10 QBR, and it was like, I think what I went back and looked last year, and only 2 quarterbacks the entire season ever had 1 game under a 10 QBR, and Deshaun already had 2 of them, and they were like in the 8 or 9 or something. Jameis yesterday had a 3.6. He almost had a 0 if you round down.
He only had his QBR was only 3.6 points higher than mine was yesterday.
That's a great way to look at it. Yep.
And I was on my couch, for the record. I didn't throw one single pass yesterday, and he beat me by 3.6 points in terms of QBR. So obviously we've established bad for the Browns. Why don't we hear from Kenny Mack before we get too crazy? We got some voicemails we want to get to. Kenny left us one talking about the game. So before we go too far, let's hear from Kenny.
Yo, guys, it's Kenny Mack. Is it just me, or is the 2024 Browns exactly like the Christmas story? We started the year at the bottom of the hill, and we're waiting for NFL clause, and we're waiting to get up there with our fans. The fans go first, and they're crying, and they get sent down the hill, not even knowing what's going on. And then it's our turn, and we're up there, and we almost freeze because we're sitting there trying to make everything better. And we don't know if Deshaun Watson is going to be any good. We don't know if Nick Chubb is coming back. Hell, we don't even know if Amari Cooper is going to be with the team and practicing. Well, what do we get? We get a football from Santa. How about a little football, boy? And we're going to throw you down the slide and have a great season. And we stop and we say, no, Santa, I want an official silver Super Bowl trophy with a 14-2 playoff team. Points for, points against, number one and a 200% third down efficiency. Well, guess what, little boy? You're going to have too many turnovers. And he throws us down there. Ho, ho, ho. That's right, guys. 6 more freaking turnovers to add to the lot. Tired of this coaching regime not getting anything done, and we're just the definition of insanity. And remember, this was interview week, and we all didn't get hired. I'm out.
I can't get over I don't know what's going on with Kenny's voicemails lately, but they're just take it to another level with, it's got like this little bit of a lisp.
I know.
It just cracks me up. No, it's just, first of all, great voicemail.
Excellent.
I like the tie in to Christmas. It tis the season.
Yes, it is. Yes,
but no, it just, I'm seeing a lot of talking here. Need running back, OL, QB. We're obviously going to talk about the game, and then we're going to get into some more specific stuff. But just, it's been a failure across the board offensively. I think defensively, again, the defense has had times where they've been bad this year, but they've had times where they've been great. And I think that the defense in the defense in its current form, if we had a good offense, I'm not even saying if we had, the Lions or the Bills, if we just had a good offense, we would still be in contention. We'd still be playing meaningful football. We would be above 500. If we had any kind of offense that wasn't 768th out of 790th in EPA the first 7 weeks of the season, we're probably going into the Winston era like multiple games over 500, and with it, hitting our tough stretch of the season, but we built a little bit of a buffer. But the offense is just so bad, and the run game is so bad. And I can't tell if it's we don't get a push because we're healthy. If you look back, outside of quarterback, this is the healthiest the offense has been in 3 years. All of our receivers are playing. I know Njoku didn't play this week, but this is the first week he didn't play. And 4 of our 5 starting offensive linemen are playing. And you could make the argument, the one offensive lineman who's not playing, we're upgrading by him not playing.
And how many teams across the league can boast that they have all 5 of their starting linemen healthy for all season? Not many. So it's not like we have a huge disadvantage in that area.
No, the fact that we're rolling 4 of the 5 out there, I mean, this is multiple weeks in a row now that we've been very healthy on the offensive line. All of our receivers have played outside of Tillman, but you've had your top guys all season. And Chubb came back, but the whole time you had Ford and you had Foreman. Mm-hmm. Like, it's the healthiest the offense has been in years, and they can't do anything.
This episode is brought to you by Baden Sports. Browns fans, it's Christmas time, and I don't know about you guys, but I am horrible at gift giving, and I never know what the heck to buy for people, and it honestly makes my holiday season just a little more stressful. But this year, Baden Sports is making my holiday shopping much easier. Head over to badensports.com/dogs and use promo code DAWGS, DAWGS, for 10% off your entire holiday order. Bodden has awesome sports gear for the athletes in your life, basketballs, footballs, baseball, and softball equipment. Not to mention if you or anyone in your life plays pickleball or you're interested in learning how to play, Bodden has all the pickleball gear you need. And they also have tons of fun backyard games like badminton sets, volleyball sets, bocce, croquet, horseshoes. They even have Viking chess, which I'm a little afraid to admit, but I don't even know what that is. So someone in the comments, let me know what Viking chess is. But it still looks like fun. And don't forget the Custom Dogs Podcast Perfection Team Issue Leather Football with our logos on it. You can find those at thedogspodcast.com/football. But for all the other awesome Bodden sports gear, get over to boddensports.com/dogs. That's BADEN sports.com/dogs to get 10% off your entire Christmas order. Take advantage of this deal and be the champion of your holiday shopping with Bodden Sports.
UTIs are the worst. I've been there. One year, I had 8 UTIs. If you get UTIs, then you understand how awful the cycle can be. I was taking all the precautions, and cranberry products, they just never worked for me. I was desperate for a way to be proactive. It was hard on me and on my husband.
It was tough to see her in pain, and I wanted to help.
I'm Jenna.
And I'm Spencer.
With Spencer's background in biochemistry
and our shared frustration when it came to UTIs, we were inspired to start Eucora.
At Eucora, we make innovative urinary tract supplements and UTI relief products. Our effective urinary tract supplements finally give you a way to be proactive.
Feel like you've tried everything? We get it. We have a money-back guarantee so you can try risk-free. If you're not happy, you'll get a full refund.
We're on a mission to help women get their lives back. Ready to join them?
Get 30% off Eucora when you go to eucora.com/audio. That's UQORA.com/audio.
Just to kind of touch on your point, man, and I don't want to take us off track or anything. How, going into this year, what was the biggest thing that we said? If we can just get okay quarterback play, man, we're going to be tough to deal with. We're going to be a really, really tough team. And unfortunately, not only did we not get good, like at least just average quarterback play, but we had I've never seen anything like a perfect storm of other issues on offense. The line, whether it's communication or just missing their blocks completely. The running, like you said, the running game, man, super disappointing. The fact that we get Nick Chubb back and then this is kind of how it ends, just another just kind of, I guess, dagger and just what's just a terrible season. If there is going to be positives that come out of it, the wide receivers, I think you have to be impressed with. Elijah Moore was a guy we weren't even sure about. And I know he didn't have a great game yesterday, but I think you've seen flashes that he's competent, you know what I mean? And a wide receiver 3 role. And obviously Jerry Jeudy, the Browns have something there. Well, if they can get a quarterback with that guy, oh my goodness.
Let's talk about Jeudy real quick, because I know you mentioned Moore, and really yesterday, if your name was not Jerry Jeudy, you were, as a wide receiver, you didn't do anything for the Browns. I mean, it was Jeudy and it was Akins, and that was pretty much it, I think. But congratulations. Hat tip to Jerry Jeudy. First ever 1,000-yard season of his career. He had 11 receptions on 14 targets yesterday for 108 yards. That gives him 1,052 on the season. Currently the 4th leading receiver in the league behind Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb. And that's it. And then it's Jerry Jeudy. And 3 of those guys were in the same draft class, drafted within 7 spots of each other, which is crazy.
What's really crazy is that Jeudy has done that in essentially 6 games.
7 now.
7 games.
Yeah, really. But think if he'd have had all season with Jameis, or just anybody who could get him the ball down, past 5 yards.
Yes. Who knows? I mean, he might be leading the league.
He probably would be, for real.
Not in touchdowns because we can't score, but
right,
he would have a boatload. He'd have a boatload of yards. This is a stat line that I don't know if I've ever seen in a game, by the way. Elijah Moore had 2 catches for -1 yards for the entire game.
Yep.
I don't think it was all. I agree with what Justin said. I think Elijah Moore has proven that if you can get good quarterback play, I think he can be a low end 2 to a high end wide receiver 3.
Yeah.
He doesn't drop the ball.
No, and that's one thing we talked about when we traded for him, was we were looking at his numbers saying, it's a pretty sure-handed guy here.
And when in your wide receiver 3, that's what you want. Mm-hmm. A guy who, when in the opportunities he's going to get, because he's not going to get 12 targets most likely, but in the 5 that he gets, he's going to catch them.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And he's going to move the chains for you. So I think Elijah Moore has proven to be competent. Jamari Thrash had a rough game yesterday. He had 0 catches, 0 yards on 1 target, but he's lined up. I don't know if he just didn't check with the official or what, but he's lined up offsides. So he had a rough game.
Did you see his 1 target too? It's like he turned around. Jameis put the ball right on him, and he just
wasn't ready,
ducked and let it go over his head. And it was like, oh man,
yeah.
sucks.
So I've been screaming for him to get more run, and then that didn't look good. Another guy who I've been impressed with since Tillman went out is Michael Woods. I think he's filled in nicely. Yeah. Nobody, like you said, outside of Jeudy at the wide receiver position had a great game yesterday because the quarterback play was so atrocious.
3.6 guys. 3.6.
But I think coming into the season, you thought there's a chance that the wide receiver group for the Browns was maybe the weakest group on the team. And we talked about it might be one of the lower tier groups in the league. And now I'm going, man, if we had competent quarterback play, I think we have a very serviceable wide receiver room with a number 1 in Jeudy, hopefully, as long as he can continue to ascend. That could be very formidable. Yeah. Especially if you compare it with some decent quarterback play in a run game. So as bad as it looks on offense for the Browns, I do think it's like a serviceable run game and just not awful quarterback play away from being not this bad. But I don't want to go too far off the rails. I know we have more voicemails. Another one just kind of talking about the game overall. So why don't we get to Josh here?
Hey there, Browns Nation. Coming in from Portland, Oregon. Longtime Browns fan. Longtime Dogs podcast fan. Oh, man, you guys are the shit. I got to go party at the Browns Bacher Bar in Vegas for a Browns game. It wasn't the game y'all are at. And honestly, I don't want to talk about the game we were at. Because I don't want to talk about the game tonight. Because, Jesus Christ, once again, the only position like that was the receiver. And so, boy, was it a start? Like the way we started the first half and the second half was just a Browns start to a half. And luckily we finished the same way. But you know what? Goddamn, I watched the whole first half and most of the second half, and I'll do it again. So here we go, Brownies.
Yeah, I mean, the Browns opened, like combined, first half open and the second half open, 3 turnovers. Boom, boom, boom. What a Browns way, like he said.
First of all, appreciate the call, Joshua. I like hearing from new guys, especially from all the way across the country out in Portland. So that's pretty awesome.
It's cool to hear from guys that say they're like longtime listeners.
Yeah.
And, first time caller. Like I like that a lot. That's cool.
So appreciate the voicemail. I was thinking a lot about like the Browns' woes. And I feel like if you watch it, football is the ultimate team sport. You know, in basketball, you can have one superstar who can just completely take over a game. I mean, the Cavs won like 3 games, draft LeBron James, win 30, and then the next year go to the playoffs because he's just that good. And in football, you can have the best player in the league on your team and not win a game. You know, and the Browns have done that. Myles Garrett has been on our team for a long time, and we won 1 game. And I'm not saying Myles Garrett's the best player, but he's definitely one of the best players. And we had Amari Cooper, who's a very good wide receiver on our team. Now, we won some games that year. But we've had other...
Joe Thomas.
Yeah, Joe Thomas. Hall of Famer. Didn't win any games. It's the 10 guys. There's 11 guys that have to do their job on every play. And 10 guys can execute to perfection. And the 11th guy messes up and the play's dead. And that's why it's so hard to be good at football. And I feel like when you're a bad team, it's not that the whole team is awful all at the same time. If you go back and you watch, it's 10 guys did this play perfect and 1 guy missed his block. And if that 1 guy got his block, it might have went for 60 yards. But that 1 guy, and that's just the kind of stuff that happens when you're a bad football team. It's not like every play, every single person is bad. It's like you just can't get everybody executing consistently on a play in, play out basis. It's like every play one person messes up. And then when all 11 guys execute, you get a 60-yard touchdown run from Jerome Ford.
Yep. Yeah.
You know, and it's just, it goes to, there's coaching involved, it's players' focus, preparation. And it's skill. A lot of people, which we have a voicemail about special teams, which we can get to that before I go on a tangent, but the special teams have been bad. And I think some of that, I've talked a lot. I just think the depth isn't there sometimes. And when you're rolling out guys on your special teams who might not even be on rosters on other teams, you're going to have bad special teams.
Yeah, I do agree. I think you're right about that. I also think there is some coaching stuff to it too with the special teams, because there are some penalties and why are we fielding punts inside the 5 every week? It drives me insane. They did it again yesterday, and even on the broadcast, was that Ian Eagle even said, Prochet, fair catch inside the 5. He goes, I just don't understand that. Me either, Ian. I don't get it either. Why are we doing this stuff? And it's every week. And it's just like whenever you watch a guy like Jonathan Taylor drop the ball before he crosses the goal line. How does that happen more than once in the NFL? How does that not happen twice yesterday?
It's happened twice. It happened twice this year, and it happened twice yesterday.
Yeah, there was the Bengals were returning, I think, a fumble or something for a touchdown, and they did it on defense. They dropped the ball. Oh my God! And it's like that should only ever happen once in history, and every player should have it drilled into them. Like if you don't cross that goal line with that ball in your hand, you're off the team. You know what I mean? So it goes back to coaching. Like, why are we catching the ball inside the 5? And again. Not that I want to say that coaching leads to muff punts, and that speaks more to depth and player personnel and all that kind of stuff. But my goodness, we have so many penalties. There's holdings, there's offsides, there's illegal formations, and it's just.
I know we have a voicemail about the special teams. Do we want to play it? From Brad?
Yeah, sure. I was going to dive into the Miles thing real quick, but we'll do Brad.
It's the final countdown.
I hope this doesn't get us copyrighted.
Or final end of the season, I might add. I don't even know what to say about this team anymore. Blake, you're a little still high on Bubba Vitrone, but man, I can't stand up for him, man. It's just like procedural things have been terrible, offside penalties and stuff. Like it's just guys dropping the ball. Like it's just, I don't know. And you can say it the players, whatever, but like this whole team, it's the players. Everybody's doing terrible on this team. I don't know what else to say. Like Jerry Jeudy had a good game. Sure. We'll go with that. But Nick Chubb broke his foot. So that was awesome. Yeah. It was a great day of football. Not. So, yeah, here we go. The season's almost over, so that's good. Woo! Let's go Browns.
I do think across the board, I do think we have some coaching problems because you see, I watch all these other NFL teams with good coaching and things like that, and you don't see the mistakes the Browns make. You don't see the turnovers. Like you don't see these things happen like it does for us. And
so I'll say this about the special teams. In regard to what he mentioned with like Bubba Vitrone. Bubba Vitrone was known as like an up and coming coach in the NFL when we hired him. It was seen as a slam dunk hire. Yeah. Okay. Do we think he's coaching James Prochet to fair catch it inside the 5?
Well, what I'm saying is, why is he still doing it?
I mean, as a guy who's coached somebody, you can tell somebody a million times not to do it. That doesn't mean they'll go out there and still do it. You know what I mean? And I guarantee you Bubba's not telling him fair catch it inside the 5. And Bubba doesn't get to pick who's going to go back there and return his punts because he didn't build the roster. I'm more concerned with why in Andrew Berry's entire tenure here have we one time we tried to get like a return guy in Grant and he just couldn't stay healthy. Other than that, it's basically just been who's the 6 wide receiver? Just throw them back there to catch kicks and punts. They can do it. And even when Prefer was here, we couldn't return punts and kicks. We've been awful at this the entire because we don't see it as a need, so we don't put any resources to it. James Prochet is on the practice squad all the time, never gets picked up by anybody. Why? Because he's not good. There's a reason he's constantly on the practice squad and available for us to just call him when we need him to come return kicks and punts because he sucks. So when you just are putting bad players back there, you're going to get bad plays all the time. That's what I'm talking about. Your special teams aren't good. Our starters aren't even as good as we thought they were. So how bad are our second and third and fourth string guys that you're putting out here on the special teams? They're not good. A lot of these guys, we put them on the practice squad or we cut them and they're selling insurance next week. So you're not going to, again, I believe coaching matters, but there's only so much you can do as a coach. You're not on the field. I would bet my life that Ventrone didn't say, make sure we fair catch balls inside the 5 this week. I bet you he didn't say that one time.
I know that. I'm saying, where's the emphasis on not doing it? Like
what do you want him to do? Kill him?
Not exactly.
He can't bench him. Who else he doesn't have anybody else to put back there.
I'm just saying the same thing is like dropping the ball at the goal line. Like it should be drilled in to these guys. Like that is, I mean, I know it's on the player, but at the same time, it's like, what are we doing here? What are you going to say, Justin?
No, I was just to touch on what Blake was saying, that we've been lurking all year. It was Jalen Darden for a little bit, and then Strong stepped in and tried it, and then it was Kadarius Toney time. Let's see if that works. And then, they'll bring Prochet back again for like the 3rd or 4th time to try it. It's something like you said, either they don't value it or our depth is just not as good as we thought it was. Either they think those guys are way better than they are, or I'm missing something.
I'm not saying that it's just like dropping punts or whatever, I mean, man, the special teams have been a disaster all season. I mean, we've given up punt return for touchdowns. We've given up huge kick returns. Obviously we suck. We can't make our field goals. The only thing that's been consistent has been Corey. Yeah. Bajorquez, and that's it.
Agreed.
I mean, yeah, he's crushing it back there, but that's because our offense can't do anything. So we punt 10, 12 times a game. So
he's awesome. He's going to be like him and Miles will probably be our only Pro Bowlers. Bojo should be starting.
Yeah, for sure.
He's been unbelievable.
Yeah.
But a bright spot for the Browns has been Myles Garrett. So, and I know that maybe the sack numbers aren't as crazy high, but I know you've kind of dug into a lot of these numbers and you wanted to get into it. And I guess I'm just posing the question, what kind of year is Myles actually having? Because I don't think he's had a sack the last 2 weeks now.
No, he hasn't. But yeah, this goes back also, I wanted to touch on this when you were talking about how football is the ultimate team sport. And it blows my mind how many people on social media, I guess it shouldn't, because a lot of people on social media aren't that right. But they'll look at the box scores and say, oh, he had 3 tackles and no sacks. He didn't do anything in this game. Well, then I'll post these stats about, well, actually he did have a huge impact in the game. And they'll say, well, it doesn't matter because we lost. I'm like, okay, so his impact in the game doesn't matter just because we lost. I don't recall him throwing 4 interceptions on the offensive side of the ball. So I think that the way Myles Garrett's playing this year is something we can hang our hats on going into next year. We've got one of the best pure pass rushers in the NFL. He had yesterday against the Chiefs, he had a 31.6% pass rush win rate. That was the 3rd highest on the week of all edge rushers. He generated 12 quarterback pressures all by himself yesterday. That's almost twice as many as the next highest edge rusher. Nobody else had more than 7 in a game yesterday. He had 12 by himself. This season, he leads the entire NFL in pressures with 70. He has the 2nd highest win rate on the season at 24.4%. And he is doing all of this stuff while also facing the highest double team rate in the league at 29%. I think the next highest is Micah Parsons at 26. So nobody's getting double team more than him, and yet he still leads the league in pressures generated. So he's having a Defensive Player of the Year repeat type of season, and he's definitely going to be in the conversation.
It's one of those things where, especially Steelers fans will say, yeah, but he doesn't get home. So great. He win rate. These are all just made up stats, blah, 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 blah. Do you understand? They are completely, their entire game plan is how to make it so he can't get a sack.
Correct.
Okay. Correct. With the double teams, running away from him, rolling away from him, all that good stuff. The chips out of the backfield and with tight ends. In order to get a sack, you need a little bit of help in turn. Like, he's not TJ Watt who just gets unblocked all the time because, I don't know, like teams clearly don't fear TJ Watt like they feel
double team
Myles
rate
Garrett.
for TJ is 13%, by the way, compared to 29.
Yes, and I would like to know what the unblocked rate is, because I feel like I watch a Steelers game and at least a couple times a game he just doesn't get, like, they don't block him and he gets a big sack and it's like, what a great play. I'm like, well, I would have made that. Nobody even tried to block him. And I'm not saying TJ's not great, but Pittsburgh Steelers fans are all cucks for him. So I bet you that's the first time cuck's ever been used on this show.
For sure.
I don't know if it has. I think it has been, dude. I'm pretty sure we've said, but yeah.
But no. So, but you need a little bit of help interior. Myles beats his guy, and if there's no pressure up the middle, guess what? The quarterback just step up
to the right.
And all that tackle has to do is now just get a little chip on him. We got to cover better. We don't cover people as well as we did last year. We need a little help from the other side. They can't just always roll away from Miles if the guy on the other side's pressuring them back the other way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's so much that goes into it. Yeah, a couple times he's going to just beat his guy so fast that there's no chance for a step up and that kind of thing. But turns out like the quarterback's a good athlete and a good football player too. And the offensive coordinators are smart and they game plan for Miles.
Well, and to go back to your point about, 10 guys can do their job perfectly and the 11th guy doesn't do it and it doesn't matter. I mean, Myles Garrett, people say, well, what was his impact yesterday in the game? You know how many passes Patrick Mahomes threw that should have been picked off? The guy on the defensive end on the secondary just didn't pick it off. But if they pick that off, then it's like, well, Myles Garrett's pressure generated an interception. Okay, well, this time it's a PBU. It's still a stat, I guess, if you guys are all obsessed with stat counting. But how many 3-and-outs did the Browns defense force yesterday? And a lot of that was from the pressure rate because Mahomes was just getting rid of the ball. Like you said, 50% completion, just 159 yards passing. Like we dominated them on defense. I mean, this is the Kansas City Chiefs. I know it's not the same as years past, but they're still Andy Reid-led, Patrick Mahomes at the quarterback. I mean, they're a good team. And if we had a decent offense, I think we could have at least competed for this game, maybe even won.
Because Mahomes got hurt late too.
Yeah.
So if that's a close game and now they got to come out with their backup.
Yep.
Go ahead, Justin.
You blind read me, if you blind just showed me Patrick Mahomes' stats at the end of the game and without anything else around it, not Jameis's 3 picks or, the 6 turnovers, I look at those numbers and I go, oh, holy crap, we pulled it off.
Yeah.
No way. I think we definitely hope we just beat the Chiefs. Great. But just the other side of the ball, just no chance. Gave the team no chance.
Well, that's a nice, you didn't even do it on purpose, but that's a nice segue into the next topic.
Yes, I did. Quit playing with your dog. I did that on purpose. Put some respect on my name, dog.
4.5 years in, we just do it. It just happens naturally.
This episode is brought to you by Manly Bands. Browns fans, and actually in particular, you Lady Browns fans out there, do you ever struggle to figure out what to get your man for Christmas? I know my wife, she's always asking me, what do you want for Christmas? And I have to tell her every single time, I don't really know. I don't really need anything. And I feel bad, but it's just kind of the way it is the truth. You can get your man an awesome new wedding band from manlybands.com. They've got some of the coolest bands on here. And even if you don't get anything, you should at least go to the website and check it out and see what they have. They've got bands featuring things like Lord of the Rings, Jack Daniel's Whiskey Barrel bands. They've got DC Comics, Jeep. They've got your traditional gold and white gold plated bands. They've got platinum. They've got titanium, tantalum, tungsten. They even have bands made out of meteorite and dinosaur bone, of all things. And every Manly band comes shipped with a free silicone band included, so that whenever your man is working out or hunting or swimming or working on the truck in the garage, whatever he's doing, he can take off the nice band that you got him, keep it safe, and put on that silicone band and keep on powering through. Right now, they've got 30% off all rings on their website, but this is for a limited time only. So if you want to get in there now. Take advantage of this opportunity, this sale for Christmas. That's manlybands.com/dogs. Use promo code DOGS, DAWGS, to get an extra 25% off your order. So not only are you getting 30% off from the website with this sale, you get an extra 25% off with our code DOGS. It is a great opportunity. Get your man an awesome wedding band from Manly Bands for Christmas this year. That's manlybands.com/dogs. 30% off all rings on their website. Limited time only. 25% extra off your order with promo code DOGS when you check out. That's manlybands.com/dogs. Promo code DOGS.
So I wanted to, obviously Jameis gets benched at the end. We see DTR for a little bit. And I wanted to talk about should the Browns stick with Jameis now? Should they move on to DTR/Bailey Zappi? I think the Bailey Zappi thing is a moot point. If they're moving on, they're going to go to the guy they drafted to let him play. We all, I think, on this show have been adamant that it should be Jameis because it at least allows us to evaluate receivers and that kind of thing. After yesterday's performance, I don't think it freaking matters. I'm at the point now where, I mean, he's turning the ball over at a rate that is like unprecedented. And it's and the season is so far gone. Jeudy got his 1,000 yards. Like, if I'm not saying I want them to move on to DTR, but if they go in that direction, I don't blame them, and I frankly I don't give a shit because it just doesn't matter. And the Jameis stuff, he's just been, you can't turn it over that often. And I was talking to a guy today. I think you have to coach Jameis like we coached DTR last year in that Pittsburgh game. You have to coach around him a little bit. Take the ball out of his hands. Don't ask him to do too much. Just ask him not to lose the game. The problem is we're saying, hey, you got to go win us games right now.
Because that's the Ken Dorsey offense that they wanted to implement. Like you've talked about a ton, put the quarterback on a pedestal and say, you're going to lead us to victory.
And we have no run game and all that. So you're asking a guy who always has problems with turnovers. The one time in his career where he didn't, he had a strong run game and they were taking the ball out of his hands down in New Orleans. That's the kind of, which to me then says he's not a franchise quarterback if you have to coach around him. But could he be a stopgap if you had other things in place? Yes. But again, you're asking your backup quarterback who has a history of just throwing interceptions at a crazy high rate to go win you football games. What do you think is going to happen?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the Browns will run a play action pass, and it almost makes me laugh every time they try it because I'm like, play action? We don't run the ball, and we can't, so who cares?
And I talked about it last year. We didn't run the ball well last year, but the play action was so much more effective because of formations and the way we were running it. It at least looked the same. And it kept defenses honest enough that the play action was effective with Joe Flacco. Now, there's no fooling anybody. If we are in this shotgun, if we run it, it's out of shotgun like 7 out of 10 times. If we go under center, we're 100% running it almost. It's just, there's just no creativity. It's so freaking bad.
It's bad. I mean, oh, hang on. I'll let you go real quick. I just wanted my piece real quick on the DTR Jameis thing. Like, I saw DTR come in yesterday and play, and it didn't look good. I'd rather have Jameis continue to. I'd love to see Jerry Jeudy end as like a top 3 receiver this year. That'd be sweet. You know what I mean? I don't want to see him taper off just because we decided to put DTR, and now it's completely unwatchable again.
It's unwatchable, man. I know. The game was on my TV yesterday, and I would go and I was like blacking out. The game was on my TV. I had no idea what was going on. I was looking at my phone, watching cars drive on the road in front of my house, watching the wall to see if the paint got any drier. I went the
right route. I had a birthday party for the kid yesterday, so I missed about 3/4 of the game. So I watched the condensed version today.
Consider yourself lucky.
Yeah, it was rough. But what's up, Justin?
All I will say about this, as far as like, should it be Jameis? Should it be DTR? Should it be Bailey? I'm kind of with you, Blake, where I don't think it really matters. And I don't think, honestly, like if you're a Browns fan and you're getting worked up about who the quarterback is moving forward, I think we're missing something else. But what I will say, as far as like, it doesn't matter, I'm terrified for next year that they're going to run this back, like at least most of this room back. And then we're talking about, and even you hear reports where it's like, well, Watson is going to be in competition next year if, as long as health. And if you're telling me that our quarterback room is going to be Watson, DTR, maybe Jameis, maybe some type of free agent, we gotta figure something out, because we've talked at length about how important the quarterback is, right? And then we're just completely turning a blind eye to it and just going, and even let's say we draft a quarterback. Do you want your first round top pick quarterback? That's what we're developing. Like, I don't know. I just feel like I don't know what we're doing. I don't know what we're doing there. Well, to me, it just feels like we're just kind of just winging it.
I know Mary Kay has been reporting that the Browns, intend to give Deshaun Watson another chance next year, bring in some competition, let him at least compete for the starting job. That's not stuff Browns fans want to hear. If that's what you want to do, fine, but I wouldn't be telling people that.
Here's the thing.
Unless you're trying to preemptively prepare people.
I just question leadership then. I question Andrew Berry or who. If it's Haslam, then I'm like, we're just doomed to just keep doing this over and over again. And it's frustrating. I don't want to sit here this time next year and talk about, like we had to roll to, I don't even know, some random ass quarterback who we don't give a damn about. It's frustrating. I don't know if you can even draft a quarterback to come in and develop in this. That's not it either for me.
I saw a tweet from Matt Fontana today. It was pretty funny. He said, like, bridge quarterback options for next year is like keep Jameis, Marcus Mariota, Jacoby Brissett, Andy Dalton, ... Damn, it's going to be Andy Dalton, isn't it? And that's what you're talking about.
I mean, so I think like the names that I keep hearing, like Sam Darnold, we've already said,
Nope.
I don't think we can afford him. Not in our salary cap situation. Maybe a Derek Carr, but I don't know. Jesus, I don't know if he's getting murdered in that offensive system down with that offensive line. What do you think he's going to look like in this one?
No, I'm banging the drum.
You banging the drum for Carr?
Yes.
I think Derek
Carr, first of all, Derek Carr is a good, I mean, everybody loves Jameis for the locker room. Derek Carr is great in the locker room. Everybody loves playing with him. I think now it's Derek Carr and getting rid of Dorsey and going back to some of our past offensive philosophies. Also, like in my perfect world, and I won't say perfect world because I haven't done enough research, but I love the idea of bolstering the offensive line as much as you can in free agency, signing a Derek Carr and drafting Jeudy. And then you roll out there. Now all of a sudden you have a quarterback who I think under Kevin Stefanski past offenses, Derek Carr could play high-level football for a season or two under that offense. I'm pretty sure he has the most fourth quarter comebacks or something like that. Like the guy can play high-level football. He's been kind of crapped on the last couple of seasons. The Saints are awful.
They're terrible.
The Saints are awful.
He hasn't ever had an offensive coach.
Never. He's never had an offensive coach. He's always played in chaos, and he's always been a guy. And yet he's been able to play good football. So I like Derek Carr. I think if you can bolster the offensive line in free agency, I think if you can sign Derek Carr and then you draft,
you'd have to trade for Derek Carr.
Trade. Well, I think there's an out in his contract. And I saw Matt Fontana also posted that.
Was it with the injury thing? Because I know they were talking about probably just shutting him down anyway because we can't pass a physical in March. They owe him like...
And I think they would take the out to just get out of it and move on because they're obviously going to be rebuilding and coach and everything. Mm-hmm. So I think you could sign Derek Carr. You could bolster your offensive line in free agency, draft a difference maker at running back in Jeudy, and all of a sudden your offense looks at least a lot more serviceable. There is no way in my mind that Watson's going to be on the team. I 100% understand that because you can't cut him, but I would pay him to stay away. I would either pay him to stay away or we would be keeping him on IR PUP all year. And we'd be having backdoor talks like, hey, we're going to keep you on the PUP. That way we don't have to put you in a competition, even though you're supposed to be this franchise quarterback. So you're going to get to save some face. We're going to get to not play you because you're awful. And at the end of this year, we'll both mutually sit down. We'll rework some things to a point where we can get out of you. You can get out of here where we can still afford to put a team on the field next year. And you can either retire right off into the sunset, or you can go sign with somebody else if you want to. But this year, we're just going to basically keep you hidden. You're going to get your money, but you're not going to be here. There's no way you can put him on the field. There's no way you can put him on the field. Even Nathan Zagura basically even said as much.
Yeah, and I think more likely than like IR PUP, because I think I don't know what all the rules are with that stuff, but it might be similar to what the Texans did back when he demanded the trade and they just said you're inactive. They made him a scratch every single week of the year. Like he's on the active roster because he has to be, but
I don't even want him in the building though, because then it's a distraction.
Well, I'm saying you don't have to be in the building. Yeah. You can just be he doesn't have to show up.
Who wouldn't take that, by the way?
I would just say, hey, don't show up. We're not going to fine you or suspend you for that. Like, just
go home. Go home. If
go on vacation.
If my work said, hey, we'll pay you your full salary, you don't even got to be
Sweet.
here. I'd be like, all right, you'll never see me again.
I was going to say to what Justin was saying earlier, like, you don't really even know what we're doing heading into next season. I think we're going to find, I was looking at the date. I think the date I'm going to circle on my calendar is January 6th. That is the day after the Browns' last game against the Ravens. That's the day we'll probably find out who's getting fired. If they come out and they fire Dorsey right away and a bunch of these coaches, okay, cool. They realize that this sucked. We're going to revamp. We're going to try to rework this offense to what fits a little better. And if they don't, and depending on how many, if it goes like a week or two without anybody getting fired, it's like, damn, we are going to run this back. Probably.
Yeah.
So I mentioned drafting Jeudy. And again, I understand that people are saying offensive line. I'm not even opposed to taking offensive line. I just think I think Genty's like a generational kind of running back. We've talked about how important running backs are again, like kind of out of the blue. It went from it's a position that you can just run a 3-headed monster out there, running back by committee, and you'll be fine because you're going to throw the ball 500 times anyways, to all the teams that are good this year have premier running backs. The running back is creeping its way back into relevancy in terms of the National Football League because teams are trying to take away chunk plays in the passing game like that. So I think if you want to be good, you got to have a difference maker at the running back position. We're seeing that this year. All the teams that are good have difference makers at the running back position. So I think if you can bolster the offensive line in free agency, then you don't have to take it in the first round. Do we want to rely on a rookie left tackle again? So I won't be mad if they go that, but I think the turnaround could be quicker if you go free agency with the line, draft an offensive guy, and sign a veteran quarterback.
I would say if they can go free agency for the line, that's a big if. Like that means there's guys available, and number two, they actually sign with us and not somewhere else.
And we have the money to actually pay them.
Yes, yeah. So you're talking about running back. We do have that last voicemail from Stacy.
That's what I want to get to.
Okay, good, because there's one big thing that happened yesterday that it's been mentioned one time so far in the show. We need to talk about it.
Well, another Sunday and another sad day. Guess we're just kind of getting used to it at this point. And then to top it all off, you see that Nick Chubb broke his foot. So question for you guys. Do you feel like now that it was Nick Chubb's last game in a Cleveland Browns uniform? I hope not, but we'll see. Go Browns.
Ugh.
Yeah, tough.
Do you guys want me to start it?
Go for it, buddy.
I can go. So my thing, and I don't know if you guys agree with me, I'm not even sure Nick Chubb was healthy. At least not like, I think it was just kind of inevitable. I know the last 3 games, I'm just holding my breath every time he touches the ball. Honestly, it's one of those things where it kind of just is up to Nick Chubb. I think if he stays on the team, he probably takes a huge pay cut. But also, I don't know what kind of market he's going to generate. He's obviously not going to go out there and get 15, 16 million a year, especially just considering the injuries that happened this year. Some teams might be a little like gun shy on signing him. But I love Nick Chubb. I think Nick Chubb, the older he gets, maybe if he's in a complimentary role, it's very exciting. I don't know if I'll ever be able to just say we need to just cut ties with Nick Chubb. I feel like the Browns kind of owe it to Nick Chubb and at least try to work something out. But you can't pay him top running back money.
No.
And
I was going to say, like, no one's going to pay a 29, almost 30-year-old running back coming off a second major knee injury followed up by a broken foot, especially whenever you average 3.3 yards a carry in the few games that we played. 8 games, 102 carries, 332 yards. It was ho-hum this year. And I know a lot of that's the line, the scheme, and all that stuff, but there was no juice. There was no burst. I actually personally think that the broken foot makes it more likely he ends up back in Cleveland next year because I think he wants to be here. He's talked about that. Cleveland obviously would like to keep him, I would imagine. And like you said, if we could have him in a complementary role to a young, flashy, electric running back, I'd be all for that. And I think now he becomes so much more affordable because he's an old broken running back. I hate to say that, but
you might be talking like vet minimum.
Yeah,
like he might
like what we got Foreman for.
Yes, we might sign him for like $1 million a year or whatever.
Yeah, like a $1.5 million 1-year contract.
Yeah, because again, like they did him a pretty big solid with the way they restructured his contract and put incentives in there for him and saying like he means too much to the city and to the team to just cut so that he was going to come back. And we all agreed with that because it's Nick Chubb, but it's like at the same time, if you can't put one guy above the team, right? You know what I mean? Even though they did it, kind of seems like they did it with Watson for the first 7 weeks. But it's one of those things where, like you said, I think that there's going to be very little market, which I think helps the Browns in their case to possibly bring him back. It's just if they want to or not. And I think they will if it is affordable. But I just feel like we were robbed. Like Nick Chubb was on potential Hall of Fame career path and, on track to be one of the greatest Browns running backs of all time. And then he just was stolen from us by Minkah Fitzpatrick,
who also tried to steal Saquon Barkley's career too yesterday.
Minkah,
you saw that hit.
Fuck that guy. You know what I mean? Like one time it's an accident, 2 times all the time. You know what I mean? All the time. Like, how about maybe you're just, kind of a piece of shit.
Just back on the Nick Chubb thing too. I know nobody's not there. Like, people don't want to hear this. I'm kind of excited for Nick Chubb because at least he can get healthy. I know Nick Chubb doesn't want to hear that, and I know Browns fans don't want to hear that, but let the man get healthy. Let him, get healthy, have a healthy offseason, come into camp, get in game shape, and let's see what happens next year, a year removed from a really, really bad injury. And then, the broken foot, we'll see. I think that's just, I haven't heard the extent of how bad it is, but you got to think that could heal up properly and wouldn't be an issue moving forward.
No, I think I heard from a sports doc today, 6 to 8 week timeline as far as surgery and recovery and all that stuff. And then it's just working your way back. So he said, for next year, he'll be ready to go. He'll be good to play. It's just, how many steps now has he lost to his game? Because we saw it this year. It's just not the same. And, we've seen other guys off these broken feet, broken foot, broken ankle, Dak Prescott, what was it last year? Tony Pollard came back and wasn't as effective last year as people wanted him to be. Now look at this year, 1 year removed from that. He's much better.
What sucks is next year was supposed to be the bounce back year then.
Right.
This year was coming back, getting back in game shape, getting his legs under him, get hit a little bit. I don't think anybody expected prime Nick Chubb, but I was just talking to somebody at work last week. I was thinking, I think he'll be better next year. I don't know if he's ever going to be what we saw, peak, but I think he's going to look more explosive and look more like himself next year. And all of a sudden now does it push it back another year? And now all of a sudden you're talking about a 30, 31-year-old running back.
Yeah.
And it's that's why I said, I don't know if we're ever going to see the guy that we had. And then it was just, we're just watching the game one night and just
gone.
Just take it away from us.
I think, like I said, it makes it more likely now that he does return to Cleveland next year, but I also think it makes it very likely that we take a young running back in the draft and, hang on a sec. Get that running back in here because we cannot rely on Nick Chubb for 20 carries a game and all that kind of stuff anymore.
Another guy we can't rely on for 20 carries is Ford.
Absolutely.
And I wanted to talk about Ford real quick. I think Ford was a bright spot yesterday. And my hot take is that Jerome Ford in his role is actually very serviceable. I think if Jerome Ford is a 5 to 8 touch guy between off tackle runs, maybe 1 or 2 screen passes.
Yes.
He's looked significantly more explosive than Nick Chubb
in the passing game is where he does his damage. He's a guy that I would put out in the slot and motion him into the backfield and then have him, back out to the flats or something on a play action and dump it to him or motion him into the slot. They don't use him the way that he could be used. It drives me nuts.
You see him in the kick return, he's explosive on kick returns. He's had a couple nice kick returns this year. He is fast and explosive, and he can do something when the ball is in his hands in space. His biggest problem is he lacks the vision required to be an every down 20 touch carry guy between the tackles. If all of a sudden you start giving him 10, 15, 18 carries, you're going to see 3 or 4 of those runs where he tiptoes, doesn't see the hole, and gets -2 when he could have had 3 or 4.
Yeah.
And that's when you're like, man, Jerome Ford freaking sucks. He leaves so many yards on the field. You got to use him like I said. I think you have him on the roster and you use him as this 6 to 8 touch guy. And then if your starter gets hurt, Jerome Ford doesn't become your starter. Your third string running back now becomes your starter, and you keep Jerome Ford in that role because that is what he's good at. And that's how you get the most out of him. By turning him into a primary back, all of a sudden you're giving him a chance to do too many things he doesn't do well. And when you keep him in a limited role, he's been one of our more explosive players this year.
Yeah, for sure. Not, does this mean Deontay Foreman comes back?
Ugh.
Is he going to be active again? Are we going to have, we cannot, like you said, lean on Ford to be that, bell cow back getting 20 plus carries a game now with Chubb hurt.
Yeah. Well, at this point of the season, they'll probably just see who wants to play running back this week. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I'm not doing anything, I'm like, what?
I will say for everybody out there that's pounding the table for Genty, pay attention, because if we do not get rid of Ken Dorsey, we are not taking a running back. We're not prioritizing it, or at least we shouldn't, because we won't use him.
Everything in my brain says that Ken Dorsey won't be back next year.
Oh,
that's what's
logical. Yeah,
that's what I'm basing my Derek Carr signing, draft Genty, everybody's saying, I saw a comment, which we only got like a minute to go, said we need 3 or 4 new offensive linemen. That's not happening, guys.
No.
But Posick, Teller, these guys are all signed.
Yeah.
They're all healthy this year.
Well, and remember though, you've talked about this a lot, and I think we need to reiterate, the scheme is screwing these guys because we're asking these run blocking specialist linemen to run block and mostly pass block out of a scheme they're not comfortable with. They're not built for it. So you get back to what Kevin Stefanski likes to do, a good power run game and all that kind of stuff. I think Conklin's still a great tackle. Teller, obviously, they still believe in him because they're talking about extension and all that stuff. If Bitonio doesn't retire, he's still here. Posick's here.
You just drafted
Zinter, yep.
Okay, so I don't think we're going to see 4 new offensive linemen next year. I think maybe you'll see 1 at a left tackle.
Yeah.
And I think if you can address that, and here's the thing is, depending on what your grades are in the draft, I don't know all the offensive tackles, but if you think Genty is that much better than all the other guys, and then you think the left tackle prospect that you can get wherever we are in the first round is great, but the guy we can get at the top of the second round is also high level, just as, maybe the ceiling's not quite as high, but can play just, right, like with that guy for most of the time. You take Genty and you go get that guy. And then you sign somebody. DeJuan Jones could technically play left tackle for us next year if he can stay healthy. So again, I haven't done tons of draft research. That's just an off the cuff idea I had here. So don't crucify me in the comments. But I just think there are ways to make it a quicker rebuild other than we need 4 new offensive linemen. You have to go draft this quarterback. I think we got to just get back to letting the offense do what they did best the last 4 years.
Well, I think it comes down to coaching and scheme first and foremost, because we cannot continue to do what we're doing. Heavy pass with no quarterback, receivers that aren't built for this downfield attack. I mean, really, they're not. They're really good, but Jerry Jeudy's really the only one that's getting downfield and doing things. We need to play to our players' strengths. And this no running game thing. And it's the turnovers. This is 2 years in a row now. Last year we led the league in turnovers, and now this year I think we're trying to do it again.
Oh, we're going to,
but now we're like, hey, you know what? We could do that again this year. So we got to fix this stuff. Well,
we've eclipsed the hour mark. You guys aren't watching Browns games, so you probably don't want to watch Dogs podcast for much longer than an hour. So we'll cut it off here now. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Again, shout out to Aiden producing for us today. Let us know how he did on the cameras. If we should bring him back for a second week, maybe we'll start paying him. But
Justin says, nah.
No. But we appreciate you guys coming in, hanging out with us, despite the Browns season being atrocious. At least you guys are coming back, hanging out with us in the comment section. We appreciate all the support. Again, if you want to become a Dogpeck member, it's jointhedogs.com. If you want to get intros and voicemails on the show, head to thedogspodcast.com, tap leave voicemail. And please don't forget to subscribe. Good luck to everybody who's in their fantasy playoffs. And we'll see you guys sometime later this week for a Bengals game preview. Other than that, if we don't see you, have a good, fun, safe holiday heading into the Christmas break.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Dogs Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Twitter at The Dogs Podcast. Get your thoughts on the show at thedogspodcast.com.
This episode is brought to you by Danger Coffee. Browns fans, we talk about how Danger Coffee is made free from mold toxins that are in 45% of the world's coffee, but that's not all that Danger Coffee has to offer. Mineral and nutrient deficiencies are a big deal. They make you feel sick, tired, stressed, and they can give you brain fog. These deficiencies negatively affect your immune system, your digestion, sleep, metabolism. Have you ever wondered why you get an initial burst from your coffee, but then you get that little crash not long after? Danger Coffee's patent-pending process remineralizes your body with more than 50 trace minerals and electrolytes, leaving you more energized, engaged, powerful. These micronutrients enter the cells to boost performance. They bind to toxins to provide detoxification support. I know that sounds like a lot, but the bottom line, guys, is minerals matter. And most of us really don't get enough of them on a daily basis. Danger Coffee delivers micronutrients. Plus, it gives you access to the minerals you already have. Head to dangercoffee.com, use our code DAWGS, DAWGS, for 10% off your order. And that code can be used over and over. So you get 10% off every order you make using code DAWGS. It's time to start every day off with a cup of coffee that gets you going and actually keeps you going. dangercoffee.com, code DAWGS.
UTIs are the worst. I've been there. One year, I had 8 UTIs. If you get UTIs, then you understand how awful the cycle can be. I was taking all the precautions, and cranberry products, they just never worked for me. I was desperate for a way to be proactive. It was hard on me and on my husband.
It was tough to see her in pain, and I wanted to help.
I'm Jenna.
And I'm Spencer.
With Spencer's background in biochemistry
and our shared frustration when it came to UTIs, we were inspired to start Eucora.
At Eucora, we make innovative urinary tract supplements and UTI relief products. Our effective urinary tract supplements finally give you a way to be proactive.
Feel like you've tried everything? We get it. We have a money-back guarantee so you can try risk-free. If you're not happy, you'll get a full refund.
We're on a mission to help women get their lives back. Ready to join them?
Get 30% off Eucora when you go to eucora.com/audio. That's UQORA.com/audio.
Fred runs his own landscaping business.
Yeah, with my 2 brothers.
They take their business very seriously.
Sure do.
Fred traded up to commercial auto insurance from Geico for serious customized coverage that grows as his business does, all for seriously low rates.
All right, so when's it gonna happen? You know, the big Geico surprise.
I'm sorry?
Some hair metal band. Are they gonna jump out of those bushes?
No, this is a serious Geico ad.
That pyro was pretty cool, though.
Get more with Geico Commercial Insurance. Trade up today at geico.com/commercial.